Hey guys, so today I wanted to talk about how I started as a model, how I became a model, and my whole story until now. I got scouted when I was, I think, 13 years old, when I was shopping with my mom in Amsterdam. I got scouted on the streets and like the typical story, like shopping, and they asked me if I wanted to become a model. And at first I said no, because I never really thought about it, and I was like so surprised. I was like, me? What? I just never saw myself as potential model. We said no at first. I think a year later, all these TV shows came on the Dutch TV, like Holland's Next Top Model. It's the Dutch version of America's Next Top Model. And I thought, wow, this is cool. You can like travel the world and you do fun stuff and like shoots. So I told my mom, I was like, maybe I do want to try to become a model. She's like, okay, let me investigate in the agencies that are in the Netherlands, and we're just gonna stop by and see which one you feel most comfortable with. So we met up with a couple agencies here in Amsterdam. Eventually we picked the one that we had the best feeling with, that really wanted to take it slow, because I was still in high school. I was only 14. We picked the agency and we started doing test shoots in Amsterdam and on the beaches. And I'm gonna show you guys here some of my first photos that were like test shoots. That's what they call it if you like super new. They want to do like test shoots to have these photos to send to like potential clients and just to see how you do with the camera. And I was so scared. I still had my braces, so I was like, my mouth and like the way I looked in the camera was super different. And I was also scared to look a certain way, like fierce, or for example. So it was just like plain. I would just like look very plain in the camera. But it was fun. I was so excited, and I was also with like some other girls that were just scouted. So it was very exciting for me. But I was still in school. So after these test shoots, you kind of start with Fashion Week. But if you're under the 16, I think you cannot travel to the US. So I started in London, because after New York Fashion Week, you have London Fashion Week, then you have Milan Fashion Week, and then Paris. So I started in London. My agent here in the Netherlands sent these photos to casting directors of like shows, and we really hoped I could do some shows to kick off like my career. So I took some time off from school. School was really nice about it. They were like, yeah, for sure, go try. So I went to London first, and I did my first show. I think it was Christopher Kane, this one, and Burberry, this one. And I remember it was so like crazy for me, because I was in shock. Like Burberry, there were so many big models. Burberry is a very known brand, so I was like very excited. Then I went to Milan. I think I did Prada there and Jill Sander. I couldn't really do any other shows because it was like semi-exclusive, so I could only do those two shows. And I remember from that Prada was the longest wait in my life. I would do the casting, but they would make you wait for like hours and hours and hours, and not knowing if you would do the show, because I think they were internally like discussing, and you had to do different fittings, and it was very, I just wanted it so bad at a point that I didn't care about it. But if I think back about it, it was like long waitings, and the only thing, it was a white room, and there were so many models waiting if they could do the show or not. Now if I look back at it, I think for a young model, it's not the best thing to wait for someone to say, yes, you're alright to do the show, or no, you cannot do the show. Because I mean, I did the show, so I was very happy, but I saw also a lot of other young girls that were waiting there and hoping so much that they could do the show, and they got a no. And I think at that age, it's too hard to tell yourself it's not personal, and you shouldn't take it personal, because I think when you're younger, I couldn't separate my looks from me as a person. So if someone would be like, no, we don't want you for the show, I would be very sad about it. Now I see myself more for modeling as not as a product, but it's just my cover. It's not who I am, it's not my inside. And I think that helped me a lot, because if someone now doesn't book me or doesn't want me, I see it more as like, oh, your looks don't fit in our show, or I don't like your look. But that doesn't mean that they don't like me as a person, or maybe they do. It's also possible, of course, but at that point I think I was too young to understand that. So, but I was just telling you guys to make sure you guys know that it's not always that way. So after Milan, I went to Paris, and Lawrence was there too. It was my very first fashion week, and Lawrence skipped school to come with me. So he came with me, and I did a lot of shows in Paris. I'll show some pictures here. And I was so happy I had someone by my side, like in London and Milan. I think it was my mom, and then Lawrence could take a week off from school. Not sure if he could really do it, but he just did it to come with me to Paris. So after that fashion week, a lot of jobs started to come in, but I was still in high school. After that got more and more, we decided to stop my regular high school, and I think at this point I was 15 years old. I think maybe just turned 16. I just started working more, so I needed more time, and they had this private school in Holland where a lot of like top sporters or people that just need more time off from school. I went there. They gave you a lot of homework to do on your travel, but it was not so good for me. I couldn't really combine it. I had at this point a lot of struggles with my weight, because I was traveling a lot by my own, because Lawrence was still in school as well. He was studying, and my mom would come sometimes with me, but she couldn't be all the time with me because I have a younger sister and she needed to go to work, and my younger sister needed to go to school, and my dad needed to go work. So she would come for a week and then leave, and I still had to stay for a week, for example. And at that point it was, I don't have a really good memory about it, because I was not I did want to be a model, but I don't know, I don't know how to tell this, but I wanted to become a model and I wanted to do it, but just being alone so often, and like being in hotels and having to deal with my weight at that point was really hard for me, because I wasn't 100% sure that modeling was what I wanted to do, because in the meantime my friends were still going to high school and they were going to Christmas prom, and I saw these pictures always on Facebook and like other pages, and I had a lot of FOMO. Like I felt like I was missing out, and I think that's pretty normal for a girl from 16 years old. But I also saw that I had a chance that not a lot of people get, so I wanted to take it, because everybody was like, wow, this is a chance and you can travel the world, and I got to work with so many amazing brands and meet so many amazing people, so I felt like I should take it and make the best of it. So I really tried. And then I went to New York when I was 16 to do my first fashion week there. I had to go a month early because, well, my agency advised for me to go a month early so I could work out and get ready for the shows, because I was 16 years old and I still had a little bit of struggles with my weight, what is totally normal for that age, because you have to learn what works with your body, you have to learn what workouts feel good for you, you're still like discovering so much stuff, you eat so much junk food. It was very hard for me to just bring a salad to school, to my high school, while all other people were just eating like bread and that kind of stuff. It doesn't come very easily for me. I wasn't that person that could eat everything and be like super slim. So I've always ate very healthy. My mom would always make sure that I didn't under eat. Like she would help me so much to make like super healthy sandwiches or super nice filled salads, and make sure I have bananas and like all the good, like make sure I have everything. So there wasn't anything of like under eating. So I had to go a month early to New York to work out there, and my mom and my younger sister came with me, and we stayed in an apartment in Brooklyn. I would work out, I think, every day. At the point that my mom and younger sister had to leave back to the Netherlands, I had to stay and for the fashion week, and I did want to stay, but it was just mentally so hard because my mom also said, like, if you're sad about it, please come with me and we stop it and you just go back to high school because you don't have to do this. Like, she made me feel like I don't have to do it, but I also felt like, I don't know, so many people said it's so cool what you do and it's so amazing and you get this opportunity, take it and make it. Okay, so my camera died, my battery died, luckily, because I was getting way too emotional. Let's try it again. At the end of August, my mom and younger sister had to leave to go back to Holland because my sister needed to go back to school and my mom had to go back to work. I remember the night before they left, I felt so like a lot of pressure here. And I cried a lot, and my mom was like, you don't have to do this, come home with us if you like want to go home. But I also felt like I should take this opportunity, and that I had a chance, and I also wanted to give it a try. So I can't blame no one, because even my agency, I agreed to be there and wanted to become a model, but I just didn't want to put the work in it, I guess. But it was also I think I never realized what it would be like, that you have to be alone a lot and that you have to work out and eat healthy and do this kind of stuff. And meanwhile I saw all my friends having summer in Holland and being together on the beaches, so I felt very, very lonely. And the day that my mom and my sister left back to the Netherlands, I was very, very emotional because I just started getting panic attacks. And at the moment they went to the airport, I just took a cab to my agency because I didn't want to be alone and there was no one in New York yet that I knew. So I went to the agency and they told me, like, you should stay if you wanna do this fashion week. I just started tearing and I could not really explain myself and the way I felt because my English was very, very bad. I couldn't really speak a word English. So I just said, I want to go home, I want to go home. That's everything, all I said. And they said, you can go home, but you have great options for the shows like Calvin Klein and many other good shows. So I decided to stay. And there's not really anyone to blame here because on one hand, I wanted it really bad, but on the other hand, my body just gave me signals of not feeling comfortable with missing out, having to watch my weight and being alone. And I think especially because I was so young, I think now if you would put me in that situation now, I would also listen more to my feelings. But at that age it was different. So I stayed there for Fashion Week, Fashion Month, and I met a lot of Dutch girls like Maud Wilson, Daphne, and we hang together and I stayed in their apartments with them, so that made everything so much better and more fun. But meanwhile Lawrence was still in Holland and I still had a hard time missing my family because I'm very much a family person. After that Fashion Month I did the whole Europe thing again. Lawrence would come with me, what was great. I had to go back to the private school I did my exam, but I didn't make it because I was just not working on it enough to make it. And then that summer my parents got divorced, and that was something that I never thought would happen. I always thought that would only happen in like other families, and like I never had close friends that had divorced parents, so I never had an example of how it can be a good thing as well. I still had to travel a lot. I just got more panic attacks, and every time I was in the plane and go somewhere, the days before I had to leave, I felt horrible, and like on the plane I would get like this crazy breathing and like just a really tight feeling about my neck, and sometimes I even almost started to throw up. I just get really emotional if I think about it, because the way I felt was so horrible, and I'm so grateful that I don't have it nowadays. And I don't know how it went away. I did breathing stuff, but I think what really helped for me is that 2 months after my parents got divorced, I was still traveling. I felt very bad because I felt very responsible for my younger sister's luck, my mom's and my dad's, and I felt like I left her alone, my younger sister, because I was everywhere in the world and not with her, and I don't know, I felt very responsible. So I could never, I always had this like feeling of weird feeling on me, that I was doing something not right. But on the other hand, I also felt like it was good to make the money and work on my own path. Yeah, it was just a really weird time, because I also nowadays thankful that I did all of this, because nowadays I can make much better choices for myself. But 2 months after my parents got divorced, I just collapsed. I cried, and I was like, I want to back to school. I want my diploma. I want to do my exam on a regular school. I want to be in Holland. I want to have time with friends. I want to go on vacation with my friends. I want to go to Christmas prom. I want to be there for my younger sister. I want to be there for my mom, and I want to be there with Lawrence. So I stopped modeling for a year, and I went back to my normal high school, the one I went to before the private school. I think making that decision all by myself, I was just like, I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna do it. I had to tell my agent. I had to tell my agent here in the Netherlands, in New York, and parents that had all really big plans for me after this first fashion week that was going so well. I still had a lot of opportunities for work, but I just felt like I needed to do this to feel better and just get my peace back in myself. So that was very hard for me to say, because I felt like a lot of people had expectations from me. Now I'm very glad I did. I went back to school. I had a really nice time. Still sometimes did some jobs, but not that many, and I actually let everything go for a little bit. I went out a lot. I gained some weight, but still I gained the weight, but still didn't really let go, because I also felt like after this year I probably go back into modeling. So I always felt a little guilty about it, and I think that's a really bad relationship with food. Like when you feel the guilt, because there is no good or wrong, I felt I was doing something wrong by letting go and gaining weight, because I felt like I was disappointing people that had expectations from me. That made me, I got in a circle that year of eating, gaining weight, feeling guilty, eating super healthy, and then doing it again. At one point I just broke that circle, and still I have sometimes a hard time with these things that happened in the past, because I got told to lose weight. So when I eat healthy, now I eat healthy for the way I feel and not for the way I look, because that's what I had to do in my past, to eat a certain way for the way I look. So I never ever want to do that anymore, because that got me in a really bad mindset. I never did under eating or never anything like that. I just put it too much pressure on myself, and I wasn't fully behind it. Like, I wasn't fully 100% agreeing with it, if you understand what I mean. After that year, I did my exam in May and I got it, so that was great. And then I knew Victoria's Secret, the casting was in September, and I was gonna turn 18, so that meant that I could do the VS show. And that was one thing that was always a big dream of mine. I would clean my rooms or clean up my closet in my little bedroom with the Victoria's Secret show on. Like, my favorite one is the one with Justin Timberlake and Giselle Bündchen. I think that was a very big motivation for me to do modeling Victoria's Secret. It was like, that was the ultimate. So I told Lawrence, I was like, I wanna go try out for this Victoria's Secret casting in September. I wanna give it all from May till September. I'm gonna go there, work out, do everything to get that show that's healthy that I could do. So I went to New York. I got an apartment with another Dutch girl, and she was really into working out and making healthy food in a really nice way. We started doing it together, like cooking together, and I actually started to really like it. I was training a lot. In my opinion, if I look back at it, I think a little bit too much. But at that point it felt right. I just wanted to give it all. In September I did the casting. Lawrence flew to me in September, like after 2 months. We didn't see each other for 2 months. I think he came to me the day of the casting. He waited downstairs, and then after we went home, and I would get a call that night because I was the last casting day, and Lawrence was with me, and I got a call that I booked the show, and I was so extremely happy. I just started crying, and Lawrence was so happy for me because he knew that just going to New York, being alone, working out, and that it wasn't easy for me being away from family, and just like it wasn't something that's really me because I'm such a family person. So I got the show. I was so extremely happy, and I felt everything that I did that summer paid off. And I got into the fitting, and then I got the show, and I was just over the moon excited. After that show, I got to my agency in New York, and they were saying, I think you could work very well after this VS show, because what we see with most models when they do a VS show, it really pushes their career. It gives them a great like push. I immediately got that feeling of like, oh, I have to stay here for months again by myself and everything. So I told Lawrence, I'm like, I'm not sure if I can do this, if I want to do this. And he's like, you know what, very out of a sudden, like he didn't really think about it for too long, because I think it just came out of his heart. He went to his work the next day and he just quitted his job. He had a full-time job in Amsterdam, a really nice job that he was really enjoying, but he also felt like I wanted to help her make her dream come true, because being and working for Victoria's Secret was such a big dream. Yeah, he quit it, and he was like, let's get an apartment together in New York. Let's see how we like it. If we don't like it after a year, because you always do a lease for an apartment for a year, then we go back to Holland and you do everything you want to do, and you don't have to do everything. So I was like, okay, I like this. So he came with me, and I think 2 months after the show, I got the call from my agency in New York to come into the office, because there was a contract, an angel contract. And that meant that I was gonna be a Victoria's Secret angel, and that's the thing I always dreamt of. I was only 18 years old, so I never thought that would happen to me after one show. I was so confused because usually these girls work longer for Victoria's Secret before they become an angel. They do the show for multiple years. Most of the time they're a little older, I think. Maybe like around 20. So I was so surprised, but so happy. I started working with Victoria's Secret. Lawrence was with me, and my whole feeling about modeling and everything's changed so much, because Victoria's Secret is a brand that made me feel so good about myself. It's really close family, and they took really good care of me, and they made sure that everybody felt comfortable. I met all these amazing girls that we got announced as an angel at the same time, so we got really close and we had all these shoots together. Everything became so much more fun. Like, we do dinners after work, and we texted with each other, so I felt like I was getting my friends there, so I wasn't missing out a lot anymore in Holland. Of course I still have my friends from Holland, but me and Lawrence made sure that every month we would fly back to the Netherlands to see people and see family. And since we had our own apartment now in New York, my family could come there as well and sleep with us, what was actually a really nice thing, because I could show them how we live in New York and what we do and where I work out and where I have breakfast. So I felt this was the year where I fully started to enjoy the work. I think I'm just not made to do all this traveling, by myself, and I think that's okay. There are also people that are perfectly fine on their own, and they enjoy to see the whole everything of the world by themselves and meet different people. I think for me it was a little bit different to have Lawrence by my side and give me so much confidence that I'm the one that decides whatever I want to do in life or what I don't want to do, that everything is fine. And he kept saying that to me, like, over and over and over and over, until the point that I fully felt like that myself as well. And I think making my own decisions made me feel very confident. Like, if you feel something that you don't want to do it, you just have to take everything in your own. Like, I felt more in control of my own life. Also because I would go into meetings and whatever with Lawrence by my side. So it's so much easier to, of course, have someone that backs you up. But if there's not someone like that with you, you just have to listen to your heart, because your brain can say anything. My brain could say be like, but you get this chance. You get chosen to be a model, so you have to make the best of it, because it's a great way to earn money. It's a great way to secure your future and all of that. That my brain would say that all the time, and like kept me going for a very long time. But at one point your body is gonna give you signals if you're not really feel confident with it, and if you're not really feeling lucky. You get panic attacks, or this feeling, or tight feeling around your neck, or I think there are so many other symptoms. I got a lot of like migraines. It was just my body telling, like, girl, you have to listen to your heart. You're the only one that can feel what you feel, and nobody can tell you like, oh, it's a great opportunity, or oh, I would do this for a couple years and then do this or that, because everybody is different. Everybody feels something different. Everybody's motivation is different. Everybody's just different, so you can't really listen to anyone but your own feelings and your own feelings. And I think at the moment I realized that, it made me feel so much stronger. And ever since, I've had a really nice time in New York with Lawrence. We met so many new people, we made so many new friends, we did so many fun trips. That was great. And we did that for, I think, 4 years. After 4 years, me and Lawrence felt like, okay, we love this struggle, hustle mentality that's here in New York. Like, it's very fast-paced, it's pretty much all about work. I feel like everybody that comes to New York is there for a reason, for a purpose, to work hard and get something. What is really nice for a couple years, but for me, coming from Holland, I've missed that place where I could fully relax and be okay with doing nothing. And I could never find that rest and peace in myself in New York, because there was always something that you can do. Especially nowadays, there's always an Instagram photo to take, there's always a YouTube video to do, there is always, I mean, there's always something to do. So that's what I felt in New York, that kind of mentality. My best friend got a baby, and Lauren's brother as well. My best friend is Lauren's sister. We just didn't want to miss out any of that, so we got a place in Amsterdam as well, and we decided to go 50-50. So now we go back to Amsterdam so much more, because I just love seeing my family and my younger sister and my parents and my family-in-law and my friends that I still have here in Holland. I think for me, having that balance of working hard when I'm in New York and fully relax when I'm here in Amsterdam. And of course, we still work here in Amsterdam, because we work on content or YouTube, but that's all stuff that I want to do, because you don't have to do it if you don't want to. We decided to start YouTube, and nobody else told us to do it. Actually, everybody was like, what are you gonna do? I don't think that's a great plan, but all right. So I feel like this past years have been a really great change in my life. So that's amazing. I'm also very glad I started YouTube, because that's also something that for me made it possible to show more of myself. And for me that's really important, because with modeling you get chosen by your looks. With YouTube I just wanted to show more of my personal life and more of who I am. I also felt like, I know I'm more than my looks, but I wanted to show you guys more of me than my looks. So I felt like that's what we could do with YouTube, especially Lawrence, because he was always a huge fan of YouTube. So he said to me already 6 years ago, let's do it. I'm like, no. But then Carly Claus started, and that made me feel more comfortable to do it as well. So I think Carly Claus was the only one that had a YouTube as a model, and I loved her videos. So I was like, okay, let's give it a try. And we were so nervous with uploading our video, because it's a different way of putting yourself out there, because you put yourself as a person, more as a person out there, instead of your looks. Because nowadays I don't care if someone says you're ugly, or I don't like your face, or I don't like whatever they don't like, because I see it separate from myself than who I am. I get really sad when someone says like she's arrogant or she's not a nice person, because that's more about me. So that was the thing where I was really scared for with YouTube, that I would take it very personal if someone would say something about my personality, because you make yourself, it's a different way of putting yourself out there. But I'm very glad it all went very well, and most of you guys like it. There will always be some people that don't like you, and that's alright too. Yeah, for now, I don't even know where I'm going with this story. It's getting very long. I have to go now. Me and Lawrence are doing a meeting in Amsterdam. Tomorrow I'm packing my bags for Paris, because we're going to Paris to watch the Dior show again, and also to do a couple fun days with Revolve. I'm gonna vlog that as well, of course. So I hope you guys like this little extra video. I don't know if it was a mix of telling me about myself and also about how I became a model and everything, but I just wanted to say very quickly, stay true to yourself, always listen to your heart, and do whatever feels good for you. I'm gonna go to a meeting with Lawrence now, and I see you guys very soon.
So beautiful, I've been waiting for so long.